This 17th Sunday of Ordinary Time, the church gives us beautiful readings on the wisdom of Solomon, our reading from St. Paul to the Romans, and this gospel today from Matthew. We can enter into this scene in this gospel of Matthew. Jesus is teaching his disciples about the kingdom of heaven, of what it means to serve him, about judgment. Sometimes I can't help myself but to try to put myself into the gospel, to sit among the disciples, to try to imagine what it must have been like to be there, to listen to Jesus, to see him face to face. But sometimes when you do this exercise, interesting dynamics can happen. For example, when I was first reading over this gospel, I imagined myself in that space. And it reminded me of other circumstances I found myself in the past. Maybe you have as well. Of being in a classroom maybe and listening to a lecture or from a teacher. Maybe you're taking on a new position, a new job, some onboarding, and you're being explained the technical dynamics of the job. And as the person's talking, you kind of start to fade down this tunnel, and you're paying attention more to their lips or their face than actually the words that are coming out of their mouth. And then all of a sudden being snapped back, you might hear something like, "Does that make sense? Or did you get all of that? Do you understand?" Yes. In some sense, I think that that's what's happening in today's gospel. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure buried in the field, and someone finds it, buries it again, comes back and buys the whole field. It's like a pearl of great price, a man searching for a pearl. It's like a net thrown into the sea. But then the angels will come and they'll separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Do you understand all these things? Yes. What Jesus is teaching his disciples are deep mysteries of our life, of seeking happiness, seeking fulfillment, of seeking that pearl of great price. But as Jesus teaches his disciples, and as he teaches us today, he knows our hearts. He knows the limits of our minds of fully understanding that we are all on this journey at different stages, at different points. So he gives them parables to reveal this mystery, because he knows their hearts, like ours, can often be divided. In John Steinbeck's novella, The Pearl, the main character, Kino, is a poor man with a wife and a small baby boy, and he spends his days diving for pearls. One day, he stumbles upon a great pearl, a great, valuable find. And if you've read this short story, you know that this pearl that was meant to be the answers to all his problems, to poverty and supporting his family, that once he gets this pearl, the greed and the envy of those around him begins to grow. His life becomes more complicated, and the greed and the envy in his own heart begins to grow. And in a story of a pearl found and lost again, there is great complication, suffering, and even death brought into Kino's life. that this story, which was undoubtedly inspired by today's gospel, shows us how often what we have set as the great prize, what we have set as the goal of our life and of our attention, of what gets us up in the morning, of what keeps us up at night, can often be the thing that can destroy us. In today's gospel, in our readings, as Jesus is talking about these treasures, or he's talking about this pearl, the disciples, and sometimes us, more than often us, can have our eyes set on what he might be holding in his hand, and we forget that unfocused, blurry image of Jesus in the background. And we forget that he is the great pearl, the great treasure. While there's much that we can look into these parables, I'll end with this one point. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure being buried in the field, which a person finds and hides again. And the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching for fine pearls. While Jesus is the pearl, is the treasure, the Lord is showing us today that the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching. And we are all searching for happiness, for fulfillment, hopefully for God. That we all gather in the space today along the journey. Maybe we are searching for him. Maybe we know those who aren't, and we hope that they stumble across him like a great treasure. Maybe we feel that we're very religious, but we have no relationship with Jesus. Maybe we feel lost or dry in our faith. But the great hope of today is that the Lord says, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching. It encourages us to make the kingdom of heaven alive in this world by our search, by never giving up, by desiring to be close to the Lord, to asking ourselves, do I know him? Am I close to him? Just yesterday, 4 members of the Congregation of Holy Cross, novices who spend a novitiate year in Colorado Springs in preparation for final vows as a religious brother or ordination for a priest in Holy Cross, they spend a year of prayer and solitude up in the mountains in Colorado Springs before they return back here for theology. It's an intense year of prayer, manual labor, of ministry, of diving deep into one's heart to grow closer to God, to see if you want to continue. And what they might not know, but they'll soon realize, is that that search never ends. That we're all called to continue to search for him, to grow close to him, to find that treasure, that pearl of great price. May this Eucharist strengthen us on that journey.